Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome to episode 215. We're now celebrating our 5th year on the air. Here's to another exciting episode. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for tuning in every Saturday night and engaging with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please continue to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X. Not a Z, XENSAMS. And remember, all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel that we upload Sundays at 2 p.m. via digital streaming. And you can also check us out on Your Home TV platform at mox.yourhometv.com. In the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, hydration with purpose, passion, and personality. Today, we are joined by the electrifying Heidi Shepherd. She's the frontwoman of the genre-defying metal band Butcher Babies. She's also an advocate for holistic wellness and a proud ambassador for Once Upon a Coconut. We're going to chat how she went from Mormon misfit to metal queen. We're chatting how she became the genre-busting powerhouse rock wasn't ready for, but so desperately needed. In the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, we're featuring Nina Lato, a Forbes-named marketing unicorn and the powerhouse CEO behind LAFM, the agency that produces the LA Fashion magazine. Today, the topic is silenced by compliance, how social media is censoring doctors, brands, and the truth about beauty. This week on the Better, Brighter You segment brought to you by Cyspera, we're unpacking something that many of us, especially those who split time between the Northeast and the Sunshine State, don't talk about enough: geography's impact on our skin. We're going to be joined by board-certified dermatologist Dr. Lesley Clark-Loeser, a South Florida native and founder of Precision Skin and Body Institute. In our Express Polished Beauty segment, regular co-contributor Dr. Daisy Aim, triple board-certified cosmetic surgeon and OBGYN and founder of the Polished Beauty podcast, chats about cryotherapy, the cool cure once reserved for elite athletes, now trending in wellness clinics for everyday users. Stay tuned for Heidi Shepherd coming up next in the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by the Fieldhouse in Northvale, New Jersey, a vibrant and fresh take on youth and adult sports and family fun, and home to the New Jersey Thunder softball program. Plan unforgettable birthday parties or private events, or explore camps and programs that keep kids active and inspired. Take time for yourself in adult leagues or rent a field or court with friends. From a cutting-edge gaming cave to hitting and pitching centers and top-tier sports instructors, the Fieldhouse is reigniting the next generation of play. Head to MJFieldhouse.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. Hydration with purpose, passion, and a ton of personality. Now, when we think of metal music, we don't often think of mindfulness, movement, or mentorship. But today's guest is rewriting that narrative with unapologetic boldness. In an industry where women are often underrepresented and underestimated, she's carved out space with her sheer vocal power, emotional intelligence, and creative agility. According to a 2023 report from Luminate, women made up less than 10% of headlining acts in heavy metal festivals globally. But today's guest is here to remind us that glass ceilings don't exist when you come in swinging with a mic in one hand and your truth in the other. Joining us is the electrifying Heidi Shepherd, frontwoman of the genre-defying metal band Butcher Babies. She's born in Provo, Utah. She's transformed her early dreams of Olympic gold into a globe-trotting career as a vocalist, actress, broadcaster, and unapologetic trailblazer. She's graced the stages of major music festivals, starred in TV and film, and redefined what it means to be both fierce and feminine in the world of rock. She's also an advocate for holistic wellness and a proud ambassador for Once Upon a Coconut, proving that even the loudest voices have room for stillness, sustainability, and soul. Today, we're chatting from Mormon misfit to metal queen, how she became the genre-busting powerhouse rock wasn't ready for, but most desperately needed. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.
So let's rewind for a second. You were a junior Olympian, a competitive cheerleader, and a college athlete before you ever picked up a mic. So that's a lot of accolades there. What what kind of discipline, drive, and stage presence did it take? I mean, that doesn't just disappear. It evolves, right? And in fact, many experts now say that athletic training can foster the type of mental toughness needed for creative leadership. So how did your background in sports and even broadcasting shape the way you perform and lead today, especially in a genre as physically and emotionally demanding as metal?
I think that growing up in sports created a work ethic at a young age that I needed to succeed in anything in life. And I think that proves in the many ventures that I've been so lucky to be a part of throughout the years. And I, especially here in metal, it is an incredible athletic event. You know, run back and forth, jump around, scream and sing and all these things without missing a beat. It is an athletic event. And doing it night after night, I have to be in the best shape possible to do so. I have to make sure that I'm healthy on the road. These are all things that I had to do as an athlete growing up as well.
Well, what you're describing is elite level stamina, but also emotional precision, right? It's that rare mix of discipline and disruption that allows you to command both a crowd and a band. It's really a refreshing reminder that performance isn't just talent, it's training.
Yes.
And I believe that. Now, Butcher Babies was born from rebellion and raw energy, and yet what you've built is full on business savvy, in my opinion. You've gone from club gigs to international tours with acts like Marilyn Manson and Megadeth. And when you look at the stats, according to Billboard Pro, only 3% of music industry executives in metal are women, and even fewer front their own business entity. So what are some of the biggest lessons in learning how to be both an artist and entrepreneur? And what would you say to other women trying to own all sides of their creativity?
It's a really great question. I think that as an artist, a lot of times we can be pulled into decision making with our hearts, and which is 100% okay. You need that side of you. You need that human side of you. But of course, first things first, this is the music industry. It's a business. And realizing that this business has to be run in that regard is kind of letting your brain also guide your heart. And that's something that over the last 16 years in this band has been an interesting toggle. I've gone back and forth between, certain decisions that I've had to make where, it hurts my heart, but I know that for the better of the business, things have to move in a certain direction, or decisions have to be made in a certain way that benefit the business in order for long-term success and longevity. So this is, it's definitely been a learning curve. I think that, mistakes create success, and I think failures create success. And so I look back at my failures as learning experiences, and I'm grateful for those as well, because it's helped us learn how to navigate the music industry as a business.
Now let's talk about voice, because your voice, both literally and figuratively, is unmistakable. I mean, you've got this scream that could tear down a stadium, and this presence that feels shockingly grounded. And when you look at Berklee College of Music, they've done research on this, and they show that vocalists often struggle with longevity because they don't prioritize recovery or wellness. So how do you care for your voice and your mental health while performing at such an intense level? And how has your relationship with wellness evolved over the years?
Well, I used to party hard. When we first started this band, I was in my early 20s, and I was like, this is the rock star lifestyle. A bottle of Jaeger here every single night. But now, as it's evolved, and I've realized that the recovery for my vocals is the most important thing. I sleep and I do not party. On the road, it is It is water, coconut water, and lots of sleep. Sometimes you'll find me sleeping into mid-afternoon just to make sure that my voice can handle all the transitions throughout the show that evening. I truly believe that the recovery of the vocal cords is the most important thing that a vocalist can do, rather than, even getting on stage and giving it your all. If your vocal cords are not well rested, it could be an opportunity lost. So
Yeah.
to me, it's sleeping, and that recovery has helped a lot. I also take magnesium, which helps with recovery. I take that at night to help me with sleep and recovery, and just to help rebuild that muscle that I may have torn in the back, screaming and singing, at an intense level for a long amount of time.
Now, as an ambassador for Once Upon a Coconut, and it's so on brand for you.
Yes.
It's purpose driven, mission aligned, and unexpected, right? So, what drew you to Once Upon a Coconut? How does it tie into your personal mission, especially as someone who's constantly challenging what rock star living looks like?
Yes. Well, I mean, Once Upon a Coconut, I've been a fan of the company before I even got involved. I love the different flavors. I love the taste. I love the people that run the business as well,
Yes.
and what they represent. And I truly believe that Once Upon a Coconut isn't just for hydration and delicious coconut water. It's also a giving back to the people. And, 10% of every every box sold goes to different charities. And me getting involved with Once Upon a Coconut, I think that it has been something that I want to bring a lot of attention to, as you said, self-care and mental health. And I believe that, putting the alcohol bottle down at night for me on tour and picking up a can of coconut water has helped shift my mindset into a healthier living as well.
Yeah.
Not just my body, but my mind. I can think clear. I everything that I do with better purpose. And, going from where the lifestyle used to be sex, drugs, and rock and roll, now it's workout routines, protein shakes, coconut water, heavy metal. and that has become really the lifestyle.
It's not just about selling a product, it's about telling a story. And what you're doing is helping redefine what rock culture can look like. Then, to your point, one that's hydrated, one that's heart led, and wholly authentic, not just the days of drug, sex, and rock and roll, right? Now,
Right.
you've been in front of cameras for years, acting, modeling, hosting, but somehow you've always kept your sense of identity intact. And in time, where so much is filtered and curated, authenticity is actually becoming a form of resistance. So how have you stayed rooted in your truth through all the noise of the industry? And what keeps you grounded when the spotlight gets too bright?
I grew up in the film industry. My dad works in the film industry, and he has since I was as a kid. And I remember growing up and him working with some of the biggest celebrities. He did music videos for Backstreet Boys, music videos for all these, huge bands. And I remember being like, oh my goodness, dad, like, wow, you're working with the celebrities. And one thing he told me very early on is like, Heidi, everyone poops in the morning. That has been something to me that has been it followed me throughout my entire life. We're all normal people, and all of us are just doing what we can to get through life. And I wake up every day incredibly grateful to be here, for one, and for two, grateful for the life that I have. It could be ripped away at any moment. And I think that if people in my position maintain that mentality, that this is all could be just a pipe dream come and gone. If we don't treat our bodies right and treat ourselves right, it could come and go. I stand on stage every night with full gratitude to be there. These people, they pay their hard-earned money to come and stand there and, rock out with us and watch us perform our passion. And seeing them get involved and seeing their faces light up and seeing this vessel of energy going back and forth, seeing them sing these lyrics back with us. It's an indescribable feeling that really makes me feel incredibly grateful that
And
they're there, that I'm there.
And that's a necessary reminder, right? That vulnerability isn't weakness, it's legacy work. And you've turned being real into a radical act. And it's what makes your voice resonate so far beyond the music. So congratulations for all of this. Now, your brand is beloved, your voice is iconic, your story is just getting started, but your legacy clearly goes beyond the music. According to Rolling Stone culture piece that I just read, fans are now looking to artists for deeper connections and leadership. So you have that community that follows you. How do you hope people remember most about your work and your voice? And what's the impact you hope to leave behind, both in metal and in life?
Well, I hope that people can look back at what I do or look at it now and say that I was a nice person. I truly believe that as I started learning that I was becoming a role model back in the day, like right when we first started, I saw this happening and I started living my life in a more positive way. And so I truly think that this is something that um, saved me as much as it can anybody else. I think that it is an important thing for me to look at what I can influence with other people and take responsibility for the things that I do influence. I get up on stage and I get to sing one of our songs. It's called Last December, and um it, it's about a moment in time that was incredibly difficult for me where I nearly took my own life. And I tell that story on stage and it's the most vulnerable thing that I've ever done. And the more and more that I've been able to play this song over around the world, it's a ballad and we're a heavy metal band and we're still on some of the heaviest tours. And the second I start talking about this and making it less taboo in my eyes on stage, I can see in the crowd people's faces are, oh, I can relate. Oh, I can relate. Oh, I can relate. And then when I speak to people afterwards, oh, I can relate. I think that my message pushing things like that and inspiring people to understand that they're not alone in certain aspects of their lives or certain feelings they may have, and understanding that people in my position go through the exact same things and emotions that they go through. I think that that has become um, very important for an artist or somebody in any type of spotlight to show, is that people aren't alone. I'm just like you.
I'm getting goosebumps because that's the difference between being an entertainer and a transformer. Now, my last question is, how has being Mormon shaped your trajectory?
Well, I grew up Mormon, but I haven't lived in that lifestyle for 20 something years now. So, yeah, 22, 3 years. But I grew up with a lot of morals, I guess you can say. The Mormon religion, they don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't even drink caffeine. But I think what really it was for me, my heart is open to everything now, but really I think what it is for me is that I recognize other people having their values, and that's a beautiful thing. I think anybody's values, people can, live in any type of world that they want to, and we can all respect each other and still live harmoniously together. And even though it's not a part of my life now, I still completely respect the people whose life it is a part of. And
Absolutely.
yeah, that in any religion, to be fair, or demographic, or any type of person, equality all around for everything is something I truly believe in. And so um I really think that maybe growing up in that religion helped me
I was going to say that. I was going to say the same thing. Well, we are officially out of time. This has turned into a 30-minute segment, and we're going to have a lot of editing to do. But I absolutely loved chatting with you. I want to thank you for gracing us with your fire, with your truth, with your fearless voice. I mean, you've redefined what it means to be a woman in metal and a woman in wellness, and whether it's on stage or on set or in a sip of coconut water.
Yes.
Your story inspires hydration in its most radical form. I'm talking about hydration of the soul.
Yes.
And it's so fitting because this Hydration with Heart segment is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, and we are here to hydrate more than just your body, one mission at a time, and you are the perfect ambassador, so thank you.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it.
Guys, definitely head to Heidi Shepherd's website. You can go to butcherbabies.com. Check her out on the gram. She's extremely active at Heidi the Butcher. And you can also check out her band on the gram at Butcher Babies. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. That was the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
The Kelly Williams Show is brought to you by Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events. Tune in and turn on your happy. Kelly Williams is full of energy and incredible guests. Watch her anytime, free programming on Your Home TV network, and do follow her on social media for a chance to win monthly prizes. Check out The Kelly Williams Show on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Straight from iHeart headquarters today in the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, the medical-grade non-invasive carboxytherapy solution for skin and intimate wellness, trusted by top practitioners worldwide. Now, in an age where nearly 85% of consumers say they trust a doctor or expert more if they're active on social media, and that's according to Real Self Consumer Report, the ability to speak freely online has never been more valuable or more dangerous. Today, the collision of medicine, marketing, and misinformation has created a regulatory minefield. And according to the FDA's annual enforcement summary, over 1,200 warning letters were sent out alone in 2024 and still counting, double for 2025, with a rising number targeting Instagram posts, TikToks, and YouTube content. Add the FTC's tightening grip on influencer partnerships and testimonial claims, and we have a reality where even truthful, peer-reviewed statements can become legal liabilities. To help us decode this, I'm joined by a woman who lives at the intersection of strategy and regulations. Bernardina Nina Lato is a Forbes-named marketing unicorn. She trends all over social media. Nina Lato, you could find her everywhere. And she's the powerhouse CEO behind LAFM, the agency that produces the LA Fashion magazine. With a specialty in high-growth beauty and wellness and in the medical aesthetics brands, she guides her clients, including the science-backed CO2 Lift brand, through global scaling, all while navigating the legal landmines of the FDA, the FTC, and those harsh medical boards. She's built brands into cultural movements while making sure every claim, caption, and campaign passes legal scrutiny. Simply put, Nina doesn't just do PR. She engineers trust. Nina, welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, thank you for having me today. I'm so excited.
Okay, this is my favorite topic, and I am chatting with truly one of expert on the microphone. I mean, this fits perfectly into the narrative of what you do and where your expertise is. So before we get into the current climate, let's start with your lens. Most people think of PR as red carpets and product placement, but in your world, it's a legal chess game. So can you describe your work in the PR space and why regulated industries like beauty and medical aesthetics require such a specific strategy?
There's a lot of strategy that goes behind it because when you think of a brand, you immediately say, that's my child, that's my baby, I'm going to grow it. So you start putting emotion into it. And a lot of people are driven to businesses based on emotion. But when you start looking at something that's more like skincare medical, there's a few rules and regulations you have to follow because you have to stay compliant. It doesn't mean you can't still put that passion behind it. You just have to kind of take a few steps back, slow it down, and then be able to know what you can and cannot say or how do you say it. You can still kind of walk fine lines with it, but you need to have somebody that can really walk you through what is acceptable, what is not, and just how to go about it. There's just a little bit more strict rules when it comes to skincare and anything that's in the medical field.
Exactly. It's so much more than storytelling, right? It's that what you just described, that structured visibility. And in this space, visibility without strategy is actual risk, not a reward. So you have to really plan and roadmap. And I love that you do that. Now, a lot of brands, even those with integrity, unintentionally cross lines, right? A doctor shows a before and after. A med spa mentions FDA quote unquote approved collagen stimulation, and suddenly, poof, they're facing violations. So what are the most common marketing mistakes that lead doctors or brands to get flagged on social media?
One, it's making claims that are not true or that you don't have the clinical to back it up. You have to make sure that when you are making a statement on anything that you're marketing, whether it be a beauty product that is FDA or not FDA, that you have the clinicals to back it up. I think the most important thing is making sure you have the right data to use and the right items to help support the claims you're making, and that you're not going and saying stuff like instant results or instant gratification, or it's going to target and help something that it's not designed for. If you don't have the medical claim to say it or to stand for it, you shouldn't. When it comes to as far as anything further, when there comes a medical doctor that's involved, there's a whole other rule book that you need to follow, because you're not just being this ambassador or this KOL, which is a key opinion leader. You're actually still got to remember, first and foremost, you are a doctor. That license doesn't end just because you closed your practice and you walked away from your medical office for the day. Your license is active no matter where you're at. And I think that's the important thing. As a doctor, you can't make claims to support brands just because you genuinely like it. You can't just take testimonials because somebody said it. There's a thing that everybody talks about, HIPAA. It is true. It is real. And it's very, very strict. So you have to walk that fine line of protecting the science that goes on things, but also protecting the patients or the people you work with. Just because somebody gave you a raving review does not mean you can use it.
Right.
You still have to ask for permission. You still need to be able to put it out there. Just because somebody posted you on social media doesn't mean you can run wild because it's there. There's things like IPs to be able to use it, licensing, the ability to use it for marketing. There's a lot of steps that need to happen, but people get excited. And that excitement makes people want to move fast fast and easy. They try to kind of cut corners. You just can't do that. No matter what you're thinking about, how fast you're scaling, the repercussion that comes from not preparing is going to hurt you much more and hurt your brand, because at the end of the day, you're building trust, you're building visibility, you're just building this connection with the people that are actually endorsing your brand, but it all has rules that you have to follow.
Right. And what's wild is many of these violations aren't about lying. They're just about language, right? And brands are being penalized for telling the truth in the wrong way at times. So I'm glad that you're there to mitigate that risk, because it does become hefty on the bank account. Which brings us to the issue of language. So certain words like safe, reverses aging, or non-invasive, or clinically proven carry regulatory weight. Now, even the word natural has gotten brands in hot water. What are the red flag words or claims that brands need to either avoid or substantiate with real data?
No, of course. So you mentioned a few of them. The other one is curing. You cannot cure things. Permanent changes, anything that's going to say it's reversing, those type of words get flagged, not just from FDA products, but just in general. So you got to be very, very careful when it goes there. The best rule of thumb is if you have rock solid science to back it up, and the actual dedicated clinical that you have uses those words, chances are you can. But if it's not in your clinical study and it's not proven, just steer clear of it. You want to use some softer words. You want to be able to say that it helps with, but you cannot claim that it does use that solution. Same thing when you are using like a before and after. Just because it worked on one person, you want to make the claim that the results may vary, because if not, that's another liability. You get a liability from just misrepresenting your brand, but you're also giving false claims to what somebody can use. And then somebody can come and raise their voice, and then that's a whole other legal situation you'll have because your claims don't match what you're representing.
Right. And then there's the professional side. So medical license holders, from dermatologists to surgeons, are held to even stricter standards. One misleading claim can cost them their entire livelihood. So what limitations do medical professionals face when promoting treatments and products or services online, even if they're the creators?
So fine line with medical practice and how that applies. As a creator, you got to be very careful that you are recommending an item, but that you're not making it the only source. If you're going to have a product, you have to have other options for patients to be able to find. You don't want it to be where you're the medical provider that's saying this is the only product that you should use, because then that goes against the license that you signed for and are representing. The other thing too is things that are with kickbacks, as you see, and you'll never see a doctor, you shouldn't see a doctor that's recommending medications and they're posting it all over their items. They might say, this is something that is offered in our practice. This is something that has shown heavy and positive results, but you'll never say, I stand behind this product without having something with claims behind it. And then if they do say, I stand behind this product, they have to be very clear that they are in fact representing the brand as an endorsement. The thing with the license is you have to make sure that you are giving that biased opinion there. You cannot say, I only stand by this product and not that product. You have to make sure that you're representing the right items. And then just making sure that you're using your authority properly. You're not using it to boost something to make money off of it. You're, at the end of the day, as a doctor, you're a doctor first, as I mentioned earlier. So your main focus should be to take care of patients. So if you're out there just to promote items, you can't. And then if you're making comments, it's the same thing. I always say, if you can't write it in your medical chart, don't put it on a post. Don't put it on a comment. Don't put it on there, because at the end of the day, if a medical license is being put into question, they will scrub everything. And just because you deleted it or hid it doesn't mean they won't find it. So if you're not going to want to put it somewhere, if it would never go in your chart, you shouldn't put it out anywhere else.
That's a great point. And to touch on something on the defense side, right? Because you deal with a lot of medical professionals that are amazing at what they do, and they're very careful with their posts. But it's ironic. The people most qualified to speak are often the most silenced, right? It creates this chilling effect where bad actors shout louder while the credible voices stay quiet out of fear. So I love that you're really giving our professionals who are tuning in and our experts and those doctors those guidelines that will help them in their posts, not just for the brands that you work for, but for the brands listening into this segment, because the information that you are putting out there is priceless to most brands, and they could be paying hefty prices otherwise from these fines directly from the FDA, right?
Correct.
Now let's spotlight a brand getting it right.
Mm-hmm.
CO2 Lift. It's science forward, but never salesy. It's skincare, but medically rooted. And I know your hand is in that messaging. So how do you support brands like CO2 Lift in promoting transformation and efficacy while staying within the legal lines?
No, of course. I think the important thing is slow it down. Take the time to really see what your message is going to be. I always tell everybody, put the whole message out there and then scale back and make sure that you follow the rules on where it is. What I like about CO2 Lift is it is global. It is a global brand, but they also make sure that they follow the rules in every single place that it is distributed. And that's something that's so hard to do in the space. But it's about making sure that when they do partner with different professionals, they take the extra steps. Yeah, it takes a little bit longer, but the payoff is correct. They have the full conversations. They let them test the product. They share the clinicals, and they do take the feedback. If somebody doesn't want to stand behind it, they go ahead and ask the whys.
Right.
And the whys are so very important, because even though it slows down items, it makes sure that what you're putting out there is correct. And then you just got to make sure that you fine tune it. Just because we like a phrase, you don't run with it. You got to kind of run through it. Okay, is that correct? Let's go back to the clinicals. Let's go back to see where we sourced it. Are we quoting somebody? Okay, where is that quote coming from? Did we get the approval? Yeah, we got the approval. Do we have it in writing? If we don't have it in writing or somewhere that we can reference that we actually, in fact, got the approval, we didn't get the approval. Just take it as you didn't. I don't care if you heard it. It said it in passing. They decide to tell somebody in the office. If it's not in writing, you did not get the approval. Go back, follow the steps. And again, take the time, slow it down, and just make sure that the messaging is correct. Make sure that all your ducks are in a row and that you are being compliant from everything.
But then there's the big question, right? Are the rules outdated? So in an era of evidence-based innovation, it can feel like regulators are still stuck in the 90s playbook. So do you think current regulations are outdated, and are they limiting innovation or hurting honest founders trying to educate the public?
Rules are rules for a reason. They're there. It's what built our entire groundwork. And I think it's something where we have to take it as a challenge and a fine line. But yes, they are outdated. They're not keeping up, and we scale so quickly.
Yeah.
By the time somebody gets familiar with the new innovations, the new items, something else is released. And being able to keep with how fast the industry is moving and how fast we are moving just on a platform of marketing options, from how quickly we get data, how quickly we get information. I know we joked about ChatGPT, but the reality is ChatGPT now takes work that I probably used to take like a week to source,
yeah.
and it picks it up in about a minute or less. And then all I have to do from that point is just cross-reference it. But our medical boards are not up to date. They're still navigating it, and they navigate by state, which is even more robust than people realize. Yes, they have a set kind of standard guide point that they have to follow, but every state has their own specific rules of what you can and cannot do, how you can and cannot market. And we hear it all the time where a medical license gets put into question, or a doctor went ahead and endorsed the product and now the product got called out. I mean, we talk about different things from medications to skincare, and it's just, you got to be careful. You got to know what you're talking about. You got to know what it is you're supporting and the whys. And sometimes as a doctor, you have to stick back as a professional, whether it be a med spa, whether it be a surgeon, is it worth my statement? Is this company worth me endorsing? And do your homework. Just because they offer you a nice paycheck, if a brand is coming to endorse, it sometimes isn't worth it.
Right.
And that's what people have to really stand back and look at, because while you might say, oh, I can't believe the medical board is not up to date, well, it's not up to you. The board still has the ultimate ruling on what it is. You just have to figure out how to navigate. And I think the important thing is, don't do it by yourself. Go to a professional, somebody who lives and breathes everything.
And for the entrepreneurs listening, I mean, the solo estheticians, the startup serum founders, the doctors with vision but no legal team, what's your golden rule? I mean, what advice would you give to new medical or beauty brands trying to grow online ethically and compliantly from day one?
Again, stick true to the story. You want to educate about the product, and you want to really stay true to the brand's ethos. The biggest challenge I do see is brands get lost in the trends. They see a trend, oh my gosh, this is trending, I have to jump on it because it's going to be great. But if it doesn't apply to your brand, or there's a fine line where it could get picked up by the wrong thing, just sit it out and make sure that you just kind of take it slow. At the end of the day, is you want to build the trust. You want to make sure that what you're doing and the claims you're saying are true and items that you can stand behind. And you don't want to be questioned. So think of it from different angles. Think of it as your consumer. Think of it as when people are speaking about the brand. And then think of it from a professional side. Does it really do what people are claiming? Just because it worked for you doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody. So you want to make sure that you're being very clear about the messaging. And remember that everything you say nowadays, it's once you say it, it's out there. You can't really take it back. And if you did claim it, is it something that's going to stand true tomorrow or the next day? And if somebody who doesn't know your brand picks it up and hears that statement, are they going to see and feel the same kind of results? And if not, do you already have enough marketing out there, or have you noted that it can actually protect you and say, hey, this is what we've seen so far, but it does not apply to everybody, but go ahead and try it.
Yeah, I love that. It's not about playing small. It's about building smart, right? Education, expert alignment, and evidence. That's how you scale without burning out or getting burned.
Correct. Credibility is everything. It's really what the value is on just what you're building, because credibility leads to trust. Trust leads to people following and actually sticking by a brand. And that same thing is what's going to give you that conversion. At the end of the day, everybody wants to get their product out, but affect their bottom line positively. But you have to navigate the space properly.
You said it. Well, we are officially out of time. Thank you so much. I learned a ton listening to you, and you are really good at what you do. And I'm so glad that we had the chance to interview you here today at headquarters.
Thank you so much. I really had fun here. And if anybody needs any education, you guys can always just learn more by following me, or even just asking around. It's the best thing to do.
Yeah. Nina, thank you for helping us decode a space that's often misunderstood. I mean, your work truly proves that compliance isn't a cage, it's a compass. And when done right, it actually amplifies trust and creates that long-term success that you alluded to. So thank you. And for those of you listening, yes, you can visit ninalato.com, or you can explore co2lift.com, where science, strategy, and skin health do converge, and follow her on the gram at Nina B. Vargas. That was our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift, where beauty meets integrity. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com. Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. This week on the Better, Brighter You segment, brought to you by Cyspera, we're unpacking something that many of us, well, especially those who split time between the Northeast and the Sunshine State, don't talk about enough: geography's impact on your skin. Joining me is board-certified dermatologist Dr. Lesley Clark-Loeser, a South Florida native and founder of Precision Skin and Body Institute. She has a background that includes George Washington University, NYU Medical School, and a specialized dermatopharmacology fellowship. Dr. Clark brings over 2 decades of clinical experience. She's led more than 30 clinical trials, launched community-driven skin healing initiatives, and has a deep understanding of how UV exposure shapes aging. Today, we're chatting sun, skin, and secrets, how Florida's heat is accelerating aging, and what you can actually do about it. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. So a staggering 90% of visible skin aging is attributed to sun exposure, and this is according to the Skin Cancer Foundation. But sun damage isn't just about wrinkles or spots. It can influence everything from collagen loss to pigmentation changes, which leads me to, when you treat patients for age-related aesthetics, how does hyperpigmentation fit into the equation?
I mean, it's really a part of it. It's part of this bigger picture that you described: wrinkling, change in skin elasticity. But hyperpigmentation for most individuals, and how the pigment is changing, is lying in the background. And it's something that you are going to assess and really look at your options in terms of treating. And I think if there's anything we've learned over time, it's how you benefit from approaching things like hyperpigmentation or just photo aging in general from multiple angles and with multiple modalities. You're always going to win if you employ different ways of addressing an issue. And hyperpigmentation is definitely no different. And looking at your toolbox and what you can use to really optimize outcomes is going to best serve you as a doctor, and then patients obviously will benefit.
Now, practicing dermatology in a high UV climate like Florida must bring a unique set of challenges. When we look at the studies, a study in the JAMA Dermatology revealed that residents in sun-intense geographies have higher rates of actinic damage as early as age 30. I mean, how does being a dermatologist in Florida shape your practice? Is geography, like especially sun intensity, shaping your patient population in a specific way?
Absolutely, Zen. It doesn't surprise me. I hadn't heard that statistic, so I really think that's interesting. At least these residents are getting outside. Not that we want them to have actinic damage. But, being in South Florida, there's a few things that do impact issues of pigmentation in a practice down here. One of which is the obvious, is that people are spending time outside more of the year than they are probably anywhere else that isn't similar in climate. So they are engaging in outdoor activities all year round: walking, biking, pickleball now. You name it, they're doing it outdoors for longer periods of time. So we do see that type of photo damage and hyperpigmentation related to that. But added to that, South Florida is a melting pot. Not so dissimilar to New York City, but we have ethnicities that really span the globe here in South Florida. And so we also take that into account in terms of, different issues of pigmentation. We see melasma, more often in different ethnicities than we do in others. And then those that maybe have more Northern European, Western European skin that's a lot fairer, we see different issues in those individuals, maybe less melasma, but more of this really sun-induced photoaging. So different types of hyperpigmentation. The good news is that your toolbox, whether it's an energy-based device, whether you're using chemical peels or topical applications, they can really serve most of these issues, or even oral medications in, the case of melasma or other types of hyperpigmentation.
Yeah, so climate literally dictates protocol. It's wild to think that our zip code plays such a big role in our skin trajectory.
Yeah.
Now let's zoom in on a question a lot of patients don't think to ask. Is there uneven skin tone actually hyperpigmentation, right? So do you consider uneven skin tone a form of hyperpigmentation, and are there subtypes patients should be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, when we think about pigment, right? Pigment is from our melanocytes. Our melanocytes are producing melanin, and we have two different types of melanin. We have our eumelanin, and that's our darker, browner, sometimes black pigment. And then we have our pheomelanin, which is more this kind of reddish, lighter brown to yellow pigment. And the combination of those pheo and eumelanin is what dictates what our pigmentation looks like. And it's not always even. So that kind of uneven hyperpigmentation that occurs over time with photoaging is really, you're seeing kind of this, deposits of different type of pigmentation. Maybe it's favoring more the production of this darker pigment and less of the lighter pigment. So yeah, that type of hyperpigmentation that you see during photoaging is, it's an issue of hyperpigmentation, I guess, or pigmentation. So you can address that as you would other types of pigmentation. You might utilize things for a longer period of time or shorter period of time, depending on why that hyperpigmentation is there. I guess a good example might be that sometimes you can see hyperpigmentation after maybe an injury. So I think the simplest one is we all, on occasion, inadvertently burn ourselves with the oven or a curling iron. And when that heals, it can leave behind some evidence. It's not a true scar, but it's pigmentation that's hyperpigmentation from that injury. And you can treat that. And you can treat that with a topical. You can treat it with energy-based devices. But the length of time that you might treat it is going to be different. And how hard it is to treat it might be different than it is something like melasma or photoaging hyperpigmentation. And those things oftentimes require longer-term chronic use.
Right. I love that breakdown, especially the nuance. Not all dark spots are created equal, and treatment should reflect that, right? Now, when it comes to treating sun damage, especially in aging patients, you often see a cocktail of concerns: solar lentigines, melasma, post-inflammatory pigmentation. I mean, the list goes on, but Cyspera is one of the few agents on the market clinically shown to improve both solar and senile lentigines without causing the hypopigmentation or rebound effects. When treating sun-related damage, what do you prioritize when choosing treatments and products? Is diagnosis often straightforward, or are you usually managing multiple overlapping conditions?
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Oftentimes there's multiple issues that are overlapping one another. And, for example, you bring up, what you would use as a topical. A product like Cyspera, which is a topical cysteamine, which is in fact a very, potent antioxidant. We make our own cysteamine. This is just a formulated cysteamine. When I talk to my patients about, what I'm going to choose to use for them topically, oftentimes the first thing they go to is it going to be hydroquinone? Because that's what we kind of often think of when we think of a skin lightening agent. Well, that comes with its own set of kind of conversation points. Is it safe to use? Is it mutagenic? Is it going to cause hypopigmentation, like you said, or any type of rebound or undesired hyperpigmentation? The difference with the cysteamine is, again, this is something that we naturally make, and it is affecting pigmentation, well, specifically melanogenesis or pigment production at lots of different points in its pathway, very different than other topicals. So it's, remember we were talking about those two different forms of pigment, that eumelanin and pheomelanin. It's actually shifting and driving more pigment production towards that lighter melanin. So it's one way in which it's helping. It's also blocking, a pigment production process that all the other ones do. So it's doing lots of different things. So it's become really, a force to be reckoned with in terms of how many different issues of pigmentation I can address with it. We talked about living here in South Florida. Big thing that I'm passionate about and doing my practice is use energy-based devices. So lasers, not so different than burning yourself, right? But it's just very controlled. So I can induce unintentionally hyperpigmentation, I don't want to, in patients that are prone to pigment with an energy-based device. And specifically individuals who are sun damaged to begin with, those are the ones that want to come in, right, for a resurfacing laser. They're even more likely to hyperpigment as a result of doing one of these treatments. So we pre-treat these patients. So cysteamines become a way for us to set these patients and ourselves up for success when we do these procedures, so that we don't run into those hiccups like hyperpigmentation. And then oftentimes we treat them afterwards as well. So it's kind of a way to skin prep as well.
I love it. And so many patients want a one-time, one treatment fix, but really they need a tailored approach based on what's actually driving that pigmentation.
Oh, yeah.
Now, bright, even skin tone is often marketed as an aesthetic goal, but is there more to it than that? And clinical evidence suggests that an even skin tone is perceived as more youthful than wrinkle reduction alone. And that's according to a study by Dr. Fink in Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery Journal. So do all patients benefit from brightening or tone correction, or are there patient populations that simply aren't focused on it?
What that skin brightness is often reflecting is healthier skin. And, what is healthier skin? What we know that, your barrier function is great. Optimize that, you have enough collagen and elastin in your tissue to provide for a good dermis, and there's good light reflection. Like, why are all those things happening? So what you use on your skin and what you do in terms of treatments is going to reflect or result in that skin brightness. And, we were just talking about cysteamine, which has these different mechanisms. We talked about being an antioxidant. Well, we think about vitamin C, right? That's like the antioxidant we think of in terms of skin brightness, but it's not the only one. There are other, antioxidants that can impact skin brightness. And, in a compound like the Cyspera, which has the cysteamine, but it also has something called isobionicamide. That is another vitamin B3 version. So we think of niacinamide, nicotinamide being anti-inflammatory and antioxidants. This is yet another. And when we, I love listening to all of the longevity doctors, and I think most people listen to Peter Attia and different people who talk about the different supplementations that are the buzzwords right now, NAD, glutathione. Well, compounds like this have the potential, and they do mechanistically increase intracellular glutathione levels, which we know is uber important. And they also can play a role in increasing NAD levels. So we are making healthier skin, which in turn is going to look brighter.
I love it.
It's a roundabout way to get there, but yeah.
Wow, that's such incredible information, and I'll tell you why. Because it just made me realize, and it was a question I always had, do I really need a product like Cyspera if I don't have any dark spots, melasma, hyperpigmentation? And can I just use it daily to brighten my appearance in general? So I love that you just re-anchored a whole new demographic of, hey, you could just have the better, brighter you version. You don't have to have all these issues and still use the product with no side effects, which I love, the no side effects. And it's interesting. Honestly, I think a lot of people underestimate how transformative even tone can be, especially when they've tried everything else, right? Yeah. Now, lastly, let's talk melasma, the ultimate skin mystery. Research shows it's more prevalent in hot climates, exacerbated by heat and visible light as much as, UV, and it's notoriously stubborn.
Yeah.
Why is melasma so difficult to treat, especially when you look at places like Florida and South Florida? Again, geography, making it more persistent. Talk to me.
It is a chronic and relapsing condition. And the reason for that, we don't entirely know, but we do know there's different components that play a role in, its presence, if you will. Hormone fluctuations are the one I think most of us are most familiar with, during pregnancy, post-pregnancy, perimenopause, menopause, so what's happening during those times of these hormonal shifts, but also sun. We know sun is a huge component of melasma, but then, factor in terms of aggravating melasma or bringing it out. But then you have individuals who live in a climate like Alaska, never seeing sunlight, yet their melasma is triggered by lifestyle. And so what would that lifestyle look like? Well, we now understand that things like hot yoga or, saunas, which cause vasodilation, that vasodilation can actually be playing a role in aggravating those individuals' melasma. So it is multifactorial. It's hard to keep it away. And so one approach, or one thing that I share with my patients in our approach to treating their melasma is you don't want to break the bank. If you know that this is something that can come back when you are having, an unintended 5-minute conversation with a friend outside of Starbucks and you didn't have appropriate sunscreen or sun protection, and now all that hard work and money you just spent to treat your melasma is out the window because this stupid stuff comes right back. Try to find what's going to work for you that's not going to break the bank. And I say that because we have access to these great lasers and I love my lasers, but they are going to cost more in terms of your treatment investment often than the topicals will, right? Doing these creams or even the oral medications that we utilize now. So in my practice, it's usually going to be a combination of the three, but trying to make it so it doesn't feel like a financial burden for the patient. So I'll combine something like a Cyspera and I use it according kind of to a protocol, which means that they use it every day at home. It's like this at-home mask that they're going to be doing, and they feel like they're doing something, a treatment at home, for about 4 months. And then they just maintain after that. That doesn't feel so burdensome twice a week. So every day they're doing it for 16 weeks. And then after that, they're just doing it twice a week. And then in addition to that, obviously there's sunscreen. They've got to be using their sunscreen. And then we'll throw in there, depending upon their melasma, maybe oral tranexamic acid, which is off-label in this country to use it for that. But we do utilize, I use it in Europe all the time. And then some lasers. We use picosecond lasers to treat their melasma. Sometimes we use other devices as well. But, it has to be that multi-pronged approach to getting, I think, great outcomes.
Wow, this is great information. You're helping a lot of people stay educated and make the right choices in the dermatology office. And I love that. Melasma is really the diva. Excuse me. It's really the diva of pigment disorders, hard to predict, harder to treat. So this adds a lot of clarity to why even diligent patients struggle with it. Thank you for that insight. Well, we are officially at the end of our date, my friend. I can't thank you enough for coming on and being our expert on the microphone today and really educating us and helping us make those clear, brighter choices for the summertime when it comes to our skincare.
Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you for having me.
That was the Better, Brighter You segment brought to you by Cyspera. And that was the amazing Dr. Lesley Clark-Loeser. Definitely check her out at PrecisionSkinInstitute.com and follow her on the gram at Clark-Loeser. And you can also check them out at Precision Skin Institute. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Cyspera. If skin discoloration is making it hard to find your Zen, Cyspera can help. Stubborn pigmentation, dark spots, and uneven skin tone concerns go beyond the surface, affecting both confidence and self-expression. In a sea of skincare choices, Cyspera stands apart. Backed by science and trusted by dermatologists worldwide, Cyspera is powered by the advanced cysteamine isobonic amide complex, delivering clinically proven results and effectively targeting mild to persistent discoloration while restoring the skin's natural glow. glow. Unlike harsh treatments, Cyspera is formulated for all skin types, including sensitive areas, ensuring visible improvements without irritation. Whether pigmentation is a new concern or a long-standing struggle, Cyspera works in harmony with the skin to bring balance, clarity, and renewed confidence. Cyspera is science-driven skincare for confidence that shines. Find your skin zen and restore your glow with Cyspera today by heading to Cyspera.com.
Welcome back to another episode of Polished Beauty Podcast. We're going to talk everything cryotherapy. We're going to learn what it is. We're going to talk about the benefits, how to utilize it, and where do you get cryotherapy? So what is cryotherapy? Essentially, cryotherapy means cold therapy. That's it. You can either do localized, meaning that you just do a foot or your arm, or you can do a whole body, which is stepping into a chamber where your entire body is subjected to extreme cold weather. But where did it originate from? Actually, ancient times, they've been using this as a form of healing. But in 1970 in Japan, it was utilized to treat rheumatoid arthritis. So from there, it has expanded into a current state, which is both for pro athletes, for skin rejuvenation, wellness centers, pain centers. It's everywhere. It's being utilized in most sectors in our society. What are the benefits of cryotherapy? Reduce inflammation and pain. Your blood vessels vasoconstrict, which means that they tighten up. And that tightening up helps with any inflammation that's in your system. Also, your body releases endorphins. Endorphins, as you know, is a happy hormone, but in this case, it actually helps relieve pain. The second thing is that it speeds up muscle recovery. We all know, at least if you don't know, athletes, whether they're pro or amateur, they utilize cryotherapy a lot with recovery because you can just step into this treatment wellness and it helps with the injury of muscles, whether it's from hard training or injuries. The third benefit is elevates your mood. As I mentioned, your body releases surge of endorphins when you step into this cryotherapy chamber or particular area. And all that endorphins is happy hormones. So your mood is instantly elevated when you do a cryotherapy. Another benefit, it improves your sleep quality. Also, your skin glows. And the reason is because there's this boost of collagen and tightening of your skin. There are some risks with anything that's good, including cryotherapy. Number one, cardiovascular. If you have heart condition, it may be a great idea to consult your physician before utilizing or undergoing cryotherapy. If you're pregnant, I would definitely say do not go through cryotherapy. Talk to your obstetrician to guide you through this process. If you have other medical elements that you're unsure of, do not go through cryotherapy. So how do you find a place to do your cryotherapy? There are a lot of gyms that have cryotherapy booth or cold plunge that you can utilize. There are studios that are popping up in towns and cities where you can reserve and do your cryotherapy. The cost varies. I think it goes anywhere from like $25 to $75. Obviously, if you're part of a club or a gym, that may be included in your membership fee already, so you don't have to worry about that. The general recommendation I tell my patients is you should do cryotherapy about 2 to 3 times a week. I think that's frequent enough, but not too much to cause harm. If you're a super athlete or pro athlete, you want to do it every day and you have the wit and the stand and the clearance and your physician, go right ahead. But the purpose of this podcast, if you're a newbie, I would say 2 to 3 times a week is something that I generally recommend. Stepping into cold might just be the next power boost you need in your life.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by the Polished Beauty Podcast with Dr. Daisy Aim. Hey, ambitious women, ready to shine on the inside and out? Tune in to the Polished Beauty Podcast, where we talk about business, beauty, brains, and body all in one spot. Meet Dr. Daisy Aim, triple board certified cosmetic surgeon, pro-aging advocate, fitness enthusiast, and your go-to for real talk on leveling up every part of your life.
The Polished Beauty Podcast is your dose of ambition meets empowerment. For more information, head to polishedbeautypodcast.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Westbridge Academy in Essex County, where students are seen, heard, and understood. Neurodiverse K through 12 students, many facing ADHD, anxiety, depression, or aggression, discover strength through connection. With compassionate educators, therapeutic support, and the latest technology, students can master academics and go further, exploring music production, financial and automotive literacy, social media awareness, and wellness. Visit westbridgeacademy.org to learn more.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can download their free Traverse TV app directly on your phone. It's absolutely free to you. YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. We upload our full episode. And of course, all of our episodes on A Moment of Zen are available on Your Home TV and Kathy Ireland worldwide streaming platform. You could head directly to mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make the show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll be back next week.